Sidewalk Profits to Little Chapel Church in Harrisburg. VIP tickets and reserve seat tickets are still available for the Prodigal Tour featuring the Sidewalk Profits on Thursday, September 29th at Little Chapel Church in Harrisburg. Get your tickets at the church or at Hope in the Future Christian Bookstore in Fairfield, Daystar in Mount Vernon, or print them off and purchase online through our website.
The best Christian music, 90.9 The Vine.
90.9 The Vine, in conjunction with AreaSports.net, proudly presents The Sports Couch. The Sports Couch is the area's only locally produced weekly sports show that is live on FM radio and also streamed live on both of our websites at AreaSports.net and WVYN.org. Who will be on the couch this morning? Let's find out. The Sports Couch is on the air right now. And good morning once again, sports fans. It is 8:30 on a Saturday morning. You know what that means. Yes, indeed. It is time for 90 minutes of great local sports talk. We call it the Sports Couch. I'm Randy Olson, live in studio, along with Danny Anselment. Beautiful day here in Southern Illinois, and for once, we didn't have rain and thunderstorms last night to interrupt all the high school football, Danny. We got a lot of games in, and that's good.
Boy, you don't think there was a lot of athletic directors and officials happy with last night?
There are going to be a few Saturday games today, though, and we're going to get into some of those scores in just a moment. We've got a lot of coaches to have on the show with us this morning. Some surprises last night, a few games that raised some eyebrows that we'll go through, Danny, and then also, we're going to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals this morning and their chances to get into the playoffs. They're a half game out of that wild card spot, the second wild card spot. We'll have Tom Ackerman of KMOX Radio in St. Louis on the show with us later on this morning. And then we're also going to talk a little volleyball this morning, aren't we?
Yeah, got a good lineup here this morning, and should be a great show here.
Why don't you go through a few of the scores from some of the conferences last night, and then we'll get our first guest on.
All right, from Week 5 Black Diamond, the Fairfield Mules look like they could be the team to beat. They go over to Carmi-White County last night and defeat the Bulldogs 28-14. They're 5-0 now in conference play. Johnson City beats Chester 20-2. Vienna moves to 4-1 on the season. Carmi's 4-1. Today it'll be the El Dorado Eagles taking on the Hamilton County Foxes for El Dorado's homecoming. El Dorado comes in at 3-1. Foxes pick up a victory last week over Vienna, so they're 1-3. And Vienna makes the trip to Edwards County last night, and they rebound and beat Edwards County 37-20. From the Little Illini, Flora defeats Olney 27-24. Flora is now 4-1 on the season. They're kind of a surprise team in that conference, Randy.
That equals their total number of victories last year, too.
Lawrenceville defeats Casey Westfield 50-20. Today it'll be Newton at Robinson. Newton is 4-0 on the season, looking to move to 5-0. Marshall moves to 5-0 with a 55-28. That Marshall team just continually rolls up there in that Little Illini conference. And Red Hill will be at Tolono Unity today. All
right, we'll get into some more scores from some of the other conferences in just a little bit. As he said at the top of the show there in the Black Diamond last night, the game of the week considered by many in Southern Illinois last night down at Carmi as the Fairfield Mules prevailed to go 5-0 on the season. They beat the Bulldogs in Carmi last night, 28-14. Coach Justin Townsend of Fairfield on the phone with us right now. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good. Doing great, guys.
Oh, you got to be doing great. It's a good day to be a Mule, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Boy, what a game you had last night. I know that the start of it is not what you wanted. You had that turnover, and Carmi jumps out on you 7-0, but then you bounce right back with a big play of your own, and from then on, the Mules kind of controlled the game.
Yeah, you mentioned the start. We won the toss. We took the football because we felt like we were going to be able to move the football up and down the field on Carmi. And, to their credit, they were pretty stingy on defense last night. They put us in some adverse situations and did some things defensively and disrupted some things with us, forced some turnovers. You mentioned the turnover on the first series. Our senior running back, Wyatt Bora, coughed one up, and then they get the ball, and literally the first play, they go 63 yards for a touchdown. And and we had schemed some things to stop the running game specifically. So right off the bat, you're kind of second guessing, like, oh, maybe that's not going to work. But we stayed the course. I mean, the reality was our kids were just a little keyed up, and we overran the play, and they made a nice run, and then right after that, I think the second play back, Bora hits a long touchdown run, to kind of redeem himself, and from there. I think they were at 180 yards total offense.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about that, they got 63 on the first play from scrimmage.
Right.
Our defense played lights out. Our secondary, Wyatt was one of those kids in the secondary. Brandt, Zach White, Jackson Konovich, Skylar Gray. That was our main guys in the secondary last night, and they just did a tremendous job. And I think what it goes back to, everybody talks about Jake Simon throwing the football. Well, the Burnett kid in the backfield's pretty dang good. I think he was the leading rusher coming in last night. And I think he still had over 100 yards, but once again, 63 of it was on the first carry.
Right.
And what we were able to do is kind of control the run game with our front 4 or 5 guys, which allowed our linebackers to give a little bit more support in the passing game and kind of keep him in check.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned your secondary there and the defense that they did last night, and Jake Simon's the kind of quarterback that loves to roll out, and several times he will roll out to his right, but then he'll come back and throw across his body to the left, and if your defenders, if they leave their man and drift over when he's rolling out, a lot of times he'll find a guy wide open, but credit to your Mule defenders, they stayed with their assignment.
Yeah, and, this is coming off a week where we played Edwards County, where they had a little bit of success throwing the football on us. So we really challenged our kids. I mentioned on one of the radio shows last night that, Tuesday, we literally didn't run any offense. And usually that's, unheard of, but we just spent so much time on defense. We spent so much time on coverage. We made our kids every play, they're covering 5 or 6 seconds, which doesn't sound much, maybe to somebody that doesn't understand, that's not playing in the secondary, but that's a long time to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And last night, we had to cover for that long. It's one of those things we did blitz a little bit, but we didn't really send the house because, Jake's good enough that he can pick you apart and he can recognize the hot routes and stuff. So, a lot of times it would take 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds for our kids to finally get to him. So we put our defensive backs in some tough situations, but man, did they respond. Super proud of our defense.
Yeah. Well, Danny and I were just talking before we went on the air, the fact that, you look at what Carmi did against El Dorado and all the points that they put up against them, and for you to hold them to 14 last night, Danny, that's huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, I listened to quite a bit of that game there last night, and I just thought the defense from Fairfield really come out and set the stage for your Mules team. They handled adversity very well, and they bent a time or two, but they never did really break.
Yeah, and that's what's important, because we told the kids, and and this is coming back to me. We felt like if we held Carmi to 21 or fewer points, we'd win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how it played out. You're not going to go down the Carmi and stop Jake Simon from putting some points on the board. You're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Simon's got too good of a program, and they got some really nice skilled kids. Probably the best receiver in the conference, best quarterback in the conference. Obviously, one of the top running backs. So you're not going to shut them down, but can you hold them down and do enough offensively? I got to give their defense some credit. Their defensive ends gave us some problems. They're a little bit undersized, but man, did they play physical. We kind of had to really challenge our bigger, stronger tight ends and fullbacks to kind of raise their level of play, because they were playing pretty physical with us, and I think they were much improved on defense. I think that's one of the big changes with Carmi from last year to this year, is that defensively they're better and they're able to stay in games. And Simon's usually, like I said, he's usually putting up 30, 35 points a game. So that was the key. And we told the kids they'll go in 21 or fewer, and we thought we could win, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, looking ahead to next week, Coach, you got a long week this week because you're going to play down at Vienna. Next Saturday, you're going to get to make that road trip down to there. You're in pretty good position now in this Black Diamond Conference.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised at the score. I came away from the Edwards County game last week, and I felt like Edwards County was a team that was probably going to win three football games. And Vienna was one of the teams I thought that they would beat, and ended up 37-20 last night. So it's I haven't seen the film, and obviously this is after Hamilton County beat Vienna the previous week 21-14, I believe, or 14-7, one to the other end. So that score's kind of alarming to me a little bit. Maybe Coach Rude's got them fired up and got some things figured out, and it's going to be a long week. And the one thing coming off last night, pretty physical game, we had a couple of kids get injured, and they might be types of injuries that might have the kids out some significant time. So we're going to we have some good depth on our team, but we're definitely going to have to groom some kids for that starting role this week. So maybe that extra day or thing isn't necessarily a bad thing for us this week. And not to mention, it sounds like Vienna's playing pretty good football right now. Yeah,
so you got a couple guys dinged up last night?
Yeah, like I said, we got an offensive lineman, special teams guy that with a knee injury, and then we got another defensive end, tight end, kind of a key backup guy, a lot of special teams, possible concussion. So, we're just going to go through the proper protocol with those kids and hope for the best. But, I like the fact that all those things happened within the game last night, and we were able to plug in kids and really not have much of a drop-off. And anytime you can do that, that tells you really that you truly have some depth in your team. So feel pretty good about that. It's just I hate it for those kids, but at the same time, we told the kids last night before we got the bus, hey, next man up. Some of you guys are going to get your opportunity, and seize the moment, take advantage.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, how about the score from the game down at Johnson City last night? The Indians beating Chester 20-2. Did that surprise you?
Another surprising score. I think I think people will tell you. Some people will say that they were surprised at our score. I had the first thing. The guy interviewed me from WSIL said that he talked about us being the underdog last night, and I was kind of quick to say, well, I didn't feel that we were the underdogs.
I didn't either, Coach. I'll have to agree with that.
I felt like we were going to win. I felt like we had that confidence level, and not to take anything away from Karma, I just felt like this was our time, and so but that's another game. I thought Chester, it sounded like maybe they were starting to get things rolling. Maybe JC's reeling a little bit after last week, which, they didn't play well against Carmi. I think Coach Mings would be the first one to tell you that. And, he's one heck of a motivator. And I'm sure Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at practice, he was getting them motivated one way or another. And,
is that what you call that? Motivated?
Well, hey, it sounds like it worked because they must have played a heck of a game last night. Because Chester's got so many weapons, and they held them. Well, it sounds to safety 20-2. I mean, that's maybe the most. Not that they won, but the way they won 20-2. That's pretty dominating for Johnston City. So thing with JC, we play them later in the year, week 9, and Dan is really good about having his teams playing their best football by the end of the year. And that's a sign of a great coach, which is what he is. And motivating. He's a super motivator with those kids, and sounds like he's got the ship righted. And I'm sure they're going to be flying high from here on out. Mm-hmm.
Well, you got your 5 wins now, so obviously you're already playoff eligible. But you want so much more than that, and I know that every member of that Mules team has got their eyes set on trying to win a conference championship, right?
Yeah, and we talked about that. After we beat Chester week 1, hey, don't let this be the highlight of your season. We beat a rival, big game last night, Carmi. Enjoy it this weekend, but don't let this be the high point of the season. That's a lot of times. You don't want to get too high. You don't want and then the big thing is we don't want to have a letdown coming next week. Because you have a letdown one week, and then it's kind of like, it kind of covers up that week 1, that big week 1 win, or that big week 5 win. It kind of negates that.
Yeah.
So you want to keep stair stepping. That's kind of been our motto this year. We want to take a step up every week, show improvement every week. And if we do that, we think we're going to keep winning football games the way our schedule sets up. And kind of mentioned with JC, we want to be playing our best football week 9. And we want to do something in the playoffs. You mentioned the 5 wins. We expected to get to 5 wins. We expected to be in the playoffs. We expect year in and year out to contend for a conference championship, and that's what we're doing right now. Obviously it doesn't always play out that way, but that's where we want to be, and that's a goal for our kids. And we feel like it's an obtainable goal year in and year out, hopefully with the program that we've established. And, this year, you look at our senior group, I don't know that there's a lot of big names or, that stand out to people or a lot of people knew about coming into this year. But those kids are good teammates, they're good leaders, and, they really encourage each other. This is a really tight-knit group, and that goes a long way, and I think we're seeing the dividends of that right now.
Well, again, we appreciate your time this morning on the Sports Couch, Coach, and congratulations on the win. A huge win last night for Fairfield over Carmi, 28-14 to move to 5-0 on the season. Enjoy that win this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Best of luck, all right?
Okay, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye. Let's go to Justin Townsend of the Fairfield Mules, 28-14. They win last night at Carmi. Great defensive effort last night, Danny, by his Mules ball club, because, again, that's a high-octane offense that Carmi has.
Absolutely. Jake Simon's being looked at by some colleges to continue to play quarterback on some college football teams. So, they had a very formidable opponent. When you go to Carmi and win on top of it, that's another place. It's kind of like going to the train yard and playing, It's pretty difficult to win there, and a huge victory for the Fairfield Mules last night.
He was also talking about that game down at Johnson City last night between the Indians and Chester. We will have Coach Dan Mings of Johnson City on the show with us later on. He'll be on with us about 9:30 this morning, so if you want to hear his input from that game last night, we'll have Coach Mings on with us. Also, in just a little bit, we're going to have Coach Brian Tackitt of the Flora Wolves on the phone with us. A huge win for them last night. Flora moves to 4-1, Danny, and as you said, they are kind of the surprise this year of the Little Illini Conference.
Yeah, Flora's off to a great start here. They just kind of keep rolling week after week, and you got to believe they're like the little train. They think we can, we think we can.
That's right. And if you're a Cardinal baseball fan, stay tuned, because just after 9 o'clock, we're going to have Sports Director Tom Ackerman of KMOX Radio in St. Louis, the flagship station of the Cardinals, on the phone with us, and we'll talk about the Cardinals' chances here down the stretch. Big game today at Wrigley Field just after 12 o'clock this afternoon, as Reyes will be pitching for the Cardinals against Hamill, and Cardinals need that one today.
They got to have it.
Yeah.
They got to have a couple. They need to leave Chicago with 2 victories.
They really do. They got the pitching matchup today and tomorrow with Reyes going today. Got a chance to pick one up today and then hopefully get one tomorrow, too, with Martinez pitching. So we'll talk to Tom Ackerman about that here in just a little bit after 9 o'clock. But, Danny, if you want to run through some scores from the South 7 and the River to River and the Apollo, we'll get Brian on the phone.
From the South 7 Conference, in a big game last night, the Belleville-Altough Crusaders show they are once again the dominant team. They defeat an undefeated Centralia team 40-21. Carbondale falls to Cahokia 54-20. And Marion picks up her second win with a 62-13 victory over the Mount Vernon Rams. From the River to River, in a upset, in my opinion, last night, the Carterville Lions defeat Anna Jonesboro 35-7. Anna Jonesboro was undefeated on quite a roll headed into last night's game, and Carterville just manhandled them. DuQuoin 42, Pinckneyville 6, Nashville 41, Sparta 8. Heron They keep rolling. They defeat Murfreesboro 49-20. Harrisburg rebounds from a loss at West Frankfort last week, 61-6. And today, used to be a Thanksgiving Day game, Randy.
I remember that, yeah.
West Frankfort will be at Benton for a high noon shootout today.
Mm-hmm.
And on my picks, I've picked this West Frankfort team. They've burnt me twice now, and if they do it to me on the other side today, I don't know what I'm going to do.
All right, well, that's a big one down in Franklin County.
You know,
today.
they always say sometimes if you can't beat them, join them. I guess
Right.
I'm joining them today because I've picked against them twice, and the only 2 losses I've got in my poll so far is thanks to the West Frankfort
You know,
Redbirds.
those 2 teams have been playing each other down there in Franklin County for like over 100 years. I think, too. It's a long, long rivalry. So there'll be a lot of people there today for that one. All right, well, as we mentioned, the Flora Wolves with a big win last night in Little Illini Conference play as they beat the Albany Tigers 27-24. Wolves improved to 4-1 on the season. A lot of people are saying, wow, what is up with this Flora Wolves team? Well, let's find out. We've got Coach Brian Tackitt on the phone with us right now. Brian, congratulations on the win last night. How's it feel? Hello? Are you there?
You just thought you had him on the phone.
We lost him here. Just a second. I'll try to get him back.
All right, I'll give you a few more scores from the Apollo. Charleston falls to Mattoon 27-20. Effingham defeats Salem 45-31. Mount Zion blanks Taylorville 25-0. From the Independence, Breeze Mater Dei beats Breeze Central beats Mater Dei last night. The Battle of Breeze 46-35. And Mount Carmel, they continue to roll. They beat Washington, Indiana 42-0. Junior high baseball scores. Class M regional championships. Albion defeats Fairfield 6-2. Oakville will play Nashville today. And Pinckneyville defeated Trico 8-6. NCOE 8, Hardin County 4. Cesar tops Christopher 9-7. Anna 13, Jonesboro 1, Shiloh 12, Pontiac 2.
And you can get all those junior high regional baseball scores from regional championships on our sports website, along with the football coaches, football scores, all right there at AreaSports.net. We've got Brian Tackitt on the phone with us again. Are you there, Brian?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, congratulations on the huge win last night over Olney, 27-24. How's that feel?
Oh, it feels pretty good. It was about as big as a win that we've had around our program for a while, and a rivalry game. It's big for the kids, but even more important than that, just a great win for us over a team that's been a very, very good program for a while now, and helped put us to our postseason goal. That's for sure.
Well, yeah. Now you're 4-1 on the season. You've already equaled the total number of wins that you had last year, and you're in position to not only make the playoffs, you're in a position to have something to say still about that conference championship.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the 4 wins and what we had last year. I hadn't even thought about that. But, yeah, we wanted to create a big game here next Friday. And, we're at 4-1, and Newton will be at 5-0. And Marshall's still out there that's undefeated. But if we could score the big upset this Friday, put ourselves in a position where we could compete for a conference championship. And, that was obviously a goal at the beginning of the year. And some of the guys told me at the beginning of the year too they wanted a home playoff game, so we're still have a shot at accomplishing that too. So with that last night, that stuff isn't talked about. So big win for us.
Well, tell us about how the game played out last night. I think you came from behind in that one, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was an emotional game. I got done last night, and I felt like I'd been in a fight, but we struck early in first. We had a big 60-yard interception return that set up a short drive for us to get up 7-0. And second quarter, though, it was all about Olney, and they did a nice job. They put back-to-back scores up on us, and each time missed their extra point, and that was going to be big later because they were just up 12-7. And with that second score they got, was really, really kind of worried about how our kids would respond. And we ended up responding with a 95-yard kickoff return by Mason Armstrong. And that just got us going again. Now Olney would score right before halftime and miss their extra point, and they'd be up 18-14 at half. But we really felt like at halftime we hadn't played our best football, and we were still in a position to only be down by 4. And we pride ourselves on being a good second half team, and we have been this year. And we third quarter, we got a score late. We were punting to them, and then they kind of fumbled a punt on their own 2-yard line. They got a good bounce for the kid, and he was going to try to make a play. We had good coverage down there and recovered the ball, so we got a score there to go up 21-18, and then added one there in the fourth quarter about midway through to give us our 27, and then defense came up big toward the end of the game, and they scored on a about fourth and 15 from their own or from our 35. Threw a ball up and for grabs, and we had 2 guys right there with good coverage, and their 5'8" kid came down with the ball and put them right back in it, and it came down to a fourth down there in the fourth quarter with about 3 minutes to go, or less than that, about a minute and a half to go.
Mm.
And we got the big stop on fourth down, and their offense was able to run out the clock and take a knee for the victory.
Well, that's exciting. When you stop them on fourth down, you have to, and the game's on the line there in the closing minutes. There's nothing more exciting than that in high school football, is there?
No, there's not. And only there's such a good passing team, and they threw the ball quite a bit last night. They threw for almost 300 on us last year, and they got great athletes on the edge, and that's what they're trying to do. And on fourth down, that's what they came out and tried to spread us out and throw, but we worked on pass coverage all week with the short week that we had, and the kids just responded so well with the short week. Couldn't be more proud of them.
Mm-hmm. Looks like you ran the ball very, very well last night. I'm looking at some of your rushing statistics that I've got here. If these are correct, I see Trevin Smith with 20 carries, 107 yards with a touchdown, and Chris Scott, 12 carries for 49 yards, including 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Trevin is our senior, our tailback, and he works so hard over the off season. He's so improved. He's quicker. He's stronger. He runs with the shoulders down so much better than he did last year. And cool thing, last night he was named the Shriners game MVP, and Shriners will present him with a plaque and then take a picture with him and the local Clay County Shriners. And before the picture was taken, he refused to even let them take the picture without his lineman out there with him. So he brought them out there, and just a class act by him. And he's, I'm so happy for him. He's put a lot of hard work into things, and he's really a great runner for us. But like you said, teams can't just key in on him with our inside zone plays. Chris will pull it, and he'll take it too. And Chris has been our starting quarterback for 3 years, and he's a big kid, and he runs hard too. And it's nothing to see in the stats next week. Maybe those are 2 flipped around, where Chris has got the 100 yards and Trevin's got the 50, 60, 70 that keeps their defense honest. So we've got a nice little running 2-headed monster back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the kickoff return by Mason Armstrong. I see receiving-wise, he had 3 catches last night for 29 yards. So, it's not like the Wolves are totally one-dimensional. You can throw the ball.
Yeah, we really, really feel like we've got 4 or 5 kids that teams have to prepare for. Mason, pound for pound, maybe our best athlete. That kid's just got a second gear, and the kickoff return was impressive last night, but he catches the ball well from the slot. And one of the kids that you won't mention from last night was Jordan Wink, and Kodalny did a good job of taking him away, because he's kind of been our main passing or receiving threat through the beginning of the year. So only took him away last night, but we're so fortunate to have other kids that can step up and do the things that we still want to try and do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's, Coach, a good team has several offensive weapons, and sounds like your Flora Wolves have some definite options where you can't just key on one area and control your team, so that has to be a big plus for your team.
Yeah, it is, and, the kids can relax more. There's not one guy that feels like they got to come in and just have the game of their lives to win a big game, and they relax, and they genuinely just love each other. And I know we have kids that don't look at the stats into the game. They just want us to get the victory, and hey, if I had the big game, that's great, but they're the first ones to congratulate the other guy who would have the big game or score the touchdown.
Well, right. Coach, looks like your team's off to the great start that you was wanting to have. Who do you have on your schedule for next week?
next week we have Newton, and they're probably the team to beat in our conference. They return a lot back from last year when they were 10-1, and but like I said earlier, we wanted to create a game where they're going to come in here and that game still meant something, and we've done that. They've got one of the better running backs in the area, Bierman kid, who they play today, so they don't even have.
Yeah, they're going to be at Robinson today. Are you going up there to take a look at that game?
Well, I was going. Well, no, I'm not. I got plans with the wife and the kids. We're going.
Oh, let's see. That's a result of last week, isn't it?
I was going to say, you guys have set me up here to fail again. Last week I had to tell her that the plans were canceled because I was going to Albany, and these plans have been made for so long that I wouldn't be available to be on the phone next week if I didn't go.
She's not going to let you do that 2 weeks in a row.
No.
Oh, Coach, that is a good one. Hey, sometimes the guy just has to waller in it. Sometimes you just got to say, hey, I give.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the Flora Wolves will be represented there today.
Yeah, I think Coach Warren might go up there. Or he mentioned it, and but we've seen them the last few years, and we know what they're going to try and do. So, but at the same time, you want to see them live
Sure.
and see what their team speed's like and that sort of thing.
Oh,
but maybe I'll send Coach Warren and get him in trouble with his wife and send him up there.
You're going to spread the wealth around.
That's right. Yeah, I shouldn't take the heat all the time.
That's great. Well, Brian, thanks so much for joining us this morning on the Sports Couch.
No
We
problem.
appreciate it. Congratulations on the win last night over Alney, 27-24. Wolves improved to 4-1. That sounds great. So congratulations.
Yep.
Enjoy
Thanks
it.
a lot, guys.
Talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Glad to know who's in charge at your house, Coach.
Yeah. Don't tell everybody that, though.
Yeah, all right. Your secret's safe with us.
All right.
See you now. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Brian Tackitt, head coach of the Flora Wolves, and again, they are 4-1 on the season. Definitely the surprise, I think, of the Little Illini Conference. I mean, you knew that they were going to have probably a pretty good year and had a chance certainly have a winning season, but to be 4-1 at this point, I don't think too many people thought they would be there.
Well, Randy, when you look at this, Marshall's 5-0, Newton, everybody's expecting them to be 5-0 after today, and then you got Flora in there at 4-1. That says a little bit about how tough that little Illini conference is up there.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk St. Louis Cardinals baseball with KMOX Sports Director Tom Ackerman. What are the chances of the Cardinals still getting in the playoffs? We'll visit with him coming up next. Stay tuned.
It's the local sports talk show that everyone is talking about. It's the Sports Couch on 90.9 The Vine and AreaSports.net.
This is your home for best Christian music.
WVYN, Blueford, Wayne City, Fairfield, Mount Vernon.
And now on Translator, W288CO Centralia, broadcasting at 105.5.
A service of Real Life Radio Foundation.
The best Christian music. 90.9 The Vine.
Underwriting on The Vine is made possible by Fairfield Printing and Graphics. They specialize in screen printing of t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies with your favorite team name and colors. They also do printing of envelopes, stationery, posters, and business cards, and they also make outdoor banners in a variety of sizes and colors. Fairfield Printing and Graphics is located at number 5 Williamson Drive in Fairfield. Their phone number is 842-4048.
Christian music and programming on The Vine is made possible by Wes Rogers Tire and Auto Service in Mount Vernon. Located at 1321 South 10th Street in Mount Vernon, Wes Rogers Tire and Auto Service offers customer service the way it should be and is 100% locally owned and operated. With ASE certified mechanics, Wes Rogers Tire and Auto Service is committed to your complete auto care satisfaction. Their phone number is 315-6497, and we are thankful for their support.
You've heard the old saying, practice makes perfect. Well, there's actually a lot of truth to that, and you can get one-on-one instruction in baseball, softball, basketball, as well as speed and agility drills at the Sports Zone in Fairfield. The Sports Zone has been in business for quite some time now and has helped many area boy and girl athletes excel in their sport of choice. Lessons and practice times are available at convenient times that meet your schedule. The Sports Zone is located on Delaware Street in Fairfield, and we appreciate their support. And welcome back to the Sports Couch here live on a Saturday morning on 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine Radio, and streaming live worldwide on both of our websites, live video streaming at AreaSports.net and live audio at WVYN.org. I'm Randy Olson live in studio along with Danny Anselment. Going to shift gears away from high school football here for just a little bit and talk about the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals lost yesterday, of course, in Chicago at Wrigley Field against the Cubs 5-0. They got a big game today and tomorrow against the Cubs. They find themselves a half game behind the Giants for that second wild card spot. We're going to talk about the Cardinals' chances right now here down the stretch with, 8 games left on the schedule, I believe, and actually 9 games left on the schedule if you count the 2 today, and then 4 at home against the Reds and 3 against the Pirates. We're going to be joined right now by KMOX Sports Director Tom Ackerman. Tom, good morning. How are you?
Randy, it's great to talk to you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Well,
how you been?
Been well. I would be better if the Cardinals were solidly in place for this wild card, but we're kind of on the outside looking in a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we kind of knew this was going to come down to the wire. It's just a disappointment to see how they came out yesterday. It was just, like they put themselves in a bad spot. You can't fall down 4-0 to Jake Arrieta in front of all those people at Wrigley Field in a great atmosphere and expect to climb back into it. And, as it turns out, they give up 4 runs in the first inning, and then suddenly, the rest of the game was pretty close on the scoreboard. So, the Cardinals need to come out better. They have to have better starts and give themselves a better chance. An opportunity today with Alex Reyes on the mound to do just that. And I think they still have an opportunity to get this wild card. I mean, they're only a half game out of a spot. They're trailing the Giants, but not by much. The Giants lost yesterday, so it's neck and neck here as we head down the stretch.
Yeah, and the Cardinals have got 9 games left on the schedule. The Giants and the Mets each have 8, so the Cardinals can literally make up that half game that they're behind the Giants by simply, winning that extra game that they have. And normally, the schedule, you would look at it and think that it would favor the Cardinals by having their final 7 games at home, but the way that St. Louis has been playing at home this year at Busch Stadium, you kind of wonder going into these final 7 games after these 2 with the Cubs.
The Cardinals have not been good at home this year. They're 33-41 at Busch Stadium. I mean, it's just not good enough. They're going to end up with a losing record at home, and so, that you really look at this Cardinals team overall, and you say this is just not the Cardinals team that fans are used to seeing. The Cardinals usually, through the years, they've had the reputation of being a team that does not beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. They are not going to throw the game away. They're going to take great at-bats. They're going to field the ball well. They're going to pitch well. They're going to hang in the game, and you'll have to beat them. They will not beat themselves. And you're going to have a very difficult time beating them at Busch Stadium. But this Cardinals team has been the exact opposite of that. However, they're in the playoff race and could very well gain the wild card. They have to play well at home to get there. And I think they need to teach themselves how to play well at home here in this last week, because if they're going to go on and make a postseason run, they're going to have to play well at home.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, this team, the way they play, really is not conducive to great play at Busch Stadium. Busch Stadium is it's a fair park, but it kind of leans towards the pitchers. So it's more of a pitcher's park, and it's not a home run park. This Cardinals team is a home run hitting ball club. They kind of are what they are, kind of a sloppy team that crushes the ball and doesn't give up necessarily. And even yesterday, they're down 4-0, but they end up, gutting it out. Great bullpen effort, kind of hanging in the game. They are just a different team to adjust to this year as a Cardinals fan, because we're so used to seeing that greatness through the years. But now suddenly, here they are. So, they're kind of a likable team, a frustrating team, all sort of wrapped into one. But they're the Cardinals fans' team, and they're going to hang by them whatever happens, even if it makes us pop
Yeah, it has truly been a roller coaster season, that's for sure. And when you and I were together down at spring training, I don't think either one of us could have predicted the fact you'd have somebody like Jed Jerko, hitting 27 or 28 home runs, and then Moss with what he's done, and the total power numbers for the Cardinals this year. I mean, it's been unbelievable how many home runs they've hit.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I will say that I was an advocate for Jed Jerko from the beginning because Jerko hit home runs in the 20s in San Diego, and I thought that coming to St. Louis and playing in those little NL Central parks, he'd be able to bump those numbers up. But, he has been just terrific for them. I mean, 27 home runs, great. Brandon Moss, I thought, would increase his power, and getting up to 27 home runs is pretty good for him. Randall Grichuk, 23, Steven Piscotty, 21. I mean, so they're all kind of, making the Cardinals' front office prediction of their increase in power, I think look pretty good because the Cardinals told us, hey, we're going to have power. I mean, we'll get the home run numbers will creep up, and that's a nice thing. I think the one thing that we didn't realize is that Elenius Diaz would come in and perform as he is. His home run numbers have been very good. Matt Adams had a nice recovery to at least get some home runs. He has 15. So they have a number of players. Jeremy Hazelbaker came out of nowhere to hit a dozen home runs. Even Tommy Pham, he gets one more and he's at 10. So there have been some nice contributions there in a year where you've had a down year from Johnny Peralta because of injuries. He hasn't been able to contribute from a power standpoint. Colton Wong, who you thought maybe could get into double digits for you, has not been able to do that. So the Diaz of the world, Jerko, a nice job by John Mozeliak to go out and make sure that he had the proper depth to account for any losses. So then it's been managed well from that standpoint by Mike Matheny. I know Mike gets criticized for his in-game decisions. Heck, I criticize Mike for his in-game decisions, but I think if you look at the overall body of work, Mike has done a nice job of getting this team at least to where it is today. That said, the offense, as tremendously powerful as it's been, has been frustrating to watch because it's been very streaky and kind of a station-to-station offense. They just sort of hope for a 3-run homer to rescue them rather than keep the line moving, which we've seen in the past.
Yeah, very well said. Danny Anselment's here in studio with me, too, and Danny's got some questions, I know, looking ahead to next year and what you think some of the Cardinals' moves will be maybe next year. Danny?
Tom, I was just wondering what's your take on the Jaime Garcia situation?
Well, Garcia is going to get another start, and so that was expected, I thought, because he came back, I thought was very, very good in a very tough place to pitch, Coors Field. I think that we sit here and say, hey, Luke Weaver had struggled in a couple of starts, but it's Coors Field. Let's give Luke a little bit of a break. I think, I think at the same time, you have to look at Jaime Garcia and say he came in an explosive situation and kind of shut the door in Colorado, and that's pretty impressive. And he looked really good and rested. So after a strong relief appearance, I think it's important to give him another start, and he actually will get 2 starts here down the stretch. And, the Reds are very much a lefty-hitting team, so you'll get that opportunity. He will. To be able to pitch against them. He's going to start Monday against the Reds. Left-handed heavy team, I think it's the right move to have Garcia get that opportunity and see what they can do as they head into the postseason. As for Garcia next year, I mean, that's very much up in the air. I mean, I have no idea if he would be back or not, whether they would, what their plans for the rotation. I mean, it looks already like a pretty crowded rotation. You're going to have Carlos. You're going to have Alex, you're going to have Waino, you're going to have Lance Lynn, and you have Mike Leake under contract, and you have some other options, Luke Weaver, etc. So it's a crowded rotation situation for sure.
Speaking of Mike Leake, what's your feelings and what's your take on that? I've been kind of up and down with him all season. He's kind of been one of those guys, too, that's kind of contributed to some of this up and down that the Cardinals have had.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that has been a disappointment. Mike Leake only went 3 1/3 yesterday, and he, did not give them a very good chance early on. I think that's been the disappointing thing, is that you thought Leake would be somebody that could go 6 or 7 innings. Nobody thought that Mike Leake was going to be a Cy Young Award candidate or somebody that would be a shutdown stopper of a starter, but at least somebody in sort of the mold of a Kyle Loesch who would be able to give you a very athletic pitcher who can handle the bat well, give you good at bats, kind of last through the season, durable, keep the ball down, get ground ball outs, and give you 6, 7 innings a night, and help your bullpen. And that has kind of been the opposite. He's really struggled. His ERA is up. His record is 9-11. But I think more than that, when you've watched Leake, he's not going to get to 200 innings. And I know that he dealt with shingles, and that's a difficult thing to overcome. But I think that at some point you have to look at a full season of Mike Leake, and you expected better. You expected a stable 4th starter, let's say, or maybe even a 3rd starter in your rotation out of him, and that has not been the case. Now, he's had some ups and downs in his career. He was a good young player who kind of skipped the minor leagues entirely and went straight to the big leagues. And I thought early on in his career he was an exciting talent for the Cincinnati Reds. When he went to the Giants, I think that opened some people's eyes that, he went to a pitcher's park and was dynamite. And so, I think the Cardinals paid attention to that, and they wanted to add a free agent pitcher. They tried to go after David Price. It didn't work out. They kept their eye on Mike Leake and some others. And when it came down to it, the selection out there, Mike Leake was one of the more attractive options for the money. And so they gave him what turns out to be a pretty big contract, but reasonable by starting pitching standards. And I think year one has not been what they expected.
We are visiting with KMOX Sports Director Tom Ackerman. Tom, do you have pregame duties today on the Cardinal Radio Network before the Cubs game?
Chris Raby will be taking care of you at 11:10 this morning.
It's an early one, yeah.
Our pregame show, and then at 12:05, it'll be Hamill taking the ball for the Cubs, and Alex Reyes champing at the bit in that Cardinal bullpen, ready to go for inning number 1 for him. And I'm excited about Alex Reyes. I just think this team, if they can get in, guys, if they can find a way to get into the postseason, and you come at somebody in a series, well, first of all, you got to get through the wild card game, and I think we would all agree that Carlos Martinez is the best fit right now to pitch that. But you get into a series and you have Alex Reyes, Adam Wainwright, and you come back with Carlos Martinez and perhaps one other, but those three, I think Alex Reyes suddenly makes this team dangerous in a short series, especially with the power that they have in their lineup. So it could get very interesting, and I think this is another big start for Alex, who was just spectacular in San Francisco in his last start.
Yeah, Tom, it looks like he's kind of getting it figured out here now at what it takes to be at this big league level. He's got all kind of potential. There's no doubt about it. He's probably one of the most exciting players in the Cardinal organization right now, and he's kind of like Carlos Martinez. He's got the tools. He's just got to get it between his ears to get the job done. And what an impact Yadier Molina makes on those two young pitchers.
There's no question, and I think we saw recently something from Alex that I thought was very important, is that he pitched himself out of a problem. Sometimes with Carlos, I see, even as good as he is, Carlos will tend to get a little jumpy maybe on the mound. I'm trying to search for the right word, but in a tough situation, Carlos will try to throw his way out of it rather than pitch to a spot and pitch his way out of a situation. He tries to rely on his incredibly electric fastball and other pitches to get out of it. Alex is starting to learn how to harness his incredible talent and find a way to pitch out of situations. He has a great demeanor. He has, his physique is just big, looks like a big, durable pitcher for many years to come, but he has that demeanor of being calm in a situation, and I really like that. And then there's no denying the stuff that he has. He has that fastball that can get up to 100. He has some terrific off-speed pitches that he's been able to use. He has a nasty curve that he doesn't use a whole lot, but he will once he starts to figure out how to throw it for strikes and work it in. But changing speeds, changing locations, that's pitching, and Alex Reyes and Carlos Martinez are developing into a dynamic 1-2 punch for the Cardinals down the road.
Well, these are two very big games in Chicago. You got Reyes today pitching for the Cardinals, Martinez tomorrow. Boy, if the Cardinals could take these two in Chicago and then come home for those 4 against the Reds and the 4 against the Pirates, you got to hopefully like their chances of getting into that wild card game. Meanwhile, you got the Giants at San Diego today and tomorrow. Then they are at home against the Rockies and the Dodgers. The Mets are at home today against the Phillies and tomorrow against the Phillies. And then they go on the road for their final 6, Tom, as they go to Miami and they go to Philadelphia. So the Mets are on the road for their final 6.
Yeah, and the Mets have Gil Martin going tonight. Sort of an untested pitcher for them. So an opportunity maybe that the Cardinals could get some help from the Phillies tonight. The Giants, however, have Madison Bumgarner going tonight in San Diego. That's a very tough assignment for the Padres. So you just kind of keep your fingers crossed there. But, I said this on the air at KMOX, we're going to start, doing some live look-ins to some other games. And we'll begin that here probably next week as we get close down the stretch. I think you'll hear at night us start to poke around a little bit. We'll peek in on some Mets games, on some Giants games. It is just so nerve-wracking, but I have to say I have a big smile on my face because it's a lot of fun. I love this time of year. 9 games to go. Every pitch counts. I know it drives all of us nuts, but then you can breathe a sigh of relief with the team spraying a little champagne, and I do think they're going to get in. I think if I could make a prediction, I think it's a Cards-Mets wild card. That's my gut feeling. The Giants have too many problems in their bullpen and some injury situations they're going to have to deal with also. I don't know. Tough call to make, picking 2 out of the 3, but I do think the Cardinals, if they could just find a way to play well at home here down the stretch, will be able to get in.
And then that matchup between Martinez and Syndergaard could be a good one, couldn't it?
Oh, man. Unbelievable, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then, gosh, if you can just find a way to win one ball game and a Cards-Cubs division series, are you kidding? What an opportunity for the Cardinals. It's a team that they've played well. They really have. And, and if they win these last 2, they will have won the season series.
Right.
Tom.
And they will have won. Had a very good record at Wrigley. So it could be fun.
Right, Tom. That's I saw that on a national broadcast this week. They were talking, said, if you're the Chicago Cubs, of all the wild card teams, you probably would hate to face the Cardinals the least, because the Cardinals were the only team that at that point they were 8-8 against each other, and they had flat dominated everyone else. So, they're probably
totally
not wanting that.
Definitely, and the Cardinals are 5-3 at Wrigley. So if they win these last 2, they will be 7-3 at Wrigley. So they went. Wrigley kind of appeals to them. They can hit home runs there. And pitchers, I've talked to several starting pitchers. They like pitching at Wrigley. It's good for starting pitchers most of the time. Most of them really like the feel of the mound and the crowd right there, and they like pitching there. I really think there's an opportunity. I'm not saying the Cardinals would win the series, but I think it would be a very competitive series between those two in a short series, and you want to make Cubs fans nervous. And the Cardinals come back with some, that like I said, that sigh of relief that they are in, that the records are 0-0, and now let's go toe to toe. Cardinals seem to be a lot healthier than they were last year. Boy, let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's hope we get there. Well, Tom, appreciate your time this morning on the Sports Couch. Always fun to talk Cardinal baseball with you, and always fun to talk sports period with you. So appreciate your time, and enjoy the weekend, and let's get a Cardinal win today, all right?
Absolutely, my pleasure. And Randy, we got to get you. I know that was on KMOX's dime last year, but you ever want to come down to Jupiter spring training, you know where to find me.
I'll take you up on that, okay?
All right, buddy.
All right, thank you, Tom. See you. All right, bye-bye. Tom Ackerman, sports director of KMOX in St. Louis, the flagship station of the Cardinals, and always great to talk to him and great insight from him. And, he's got kind of a feeling that maybe the Cardinals can still get in there, and the pitching matchups today and tomorrow with Reyes and Martinez going, you never know.
Talk to the Cubs fans. They won't tell you that.
No, they won't. They won't. But how would the Cubs feel if the Cardinals do win today and tomorrow? How would the Cubs feel knowing that the Cardinals beat them in the season series?
Well, also, like I said, I saw on the national telecast earlier in the week that the Cardinals at that point were 8-8, and they said, if you're the Chicago Cubs, of the Cubs playing the Mets, Cardinals, and the Giants, the Cardinals would be the least likely team they'd like to face just for that reason. So, there's a lot of baseball left to be played. The thing about the St. Louis Cardinal fans, we're not used to experiencing this. We're used to being like the Chicago Cubs are, having this thing wrapped up with a couple weeks to go, and we're just trying to keep guys fresh and ready to play. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to go down right to the wire. But, that could be an advantage for the Cardinals, because you look at the Chicago Cubs, any team, not only Cubs, but any team that clinches early, it's hard to keep that game face and game. This is all about repetition in this game of baseball, and it's pretty easy, even though these guys are major league players, to get out of that repetition, and you could instantly go into some kind of a little slump or something just because you've lost that batter's eye.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to cut the show a little bit short next half hour. We're probably going to wrap up around 9:45 or something like that, because of Bean Day is going on here in Wayne City today, and the parade's starting at 10. But we got a couple more guests still to come. We're going to visit with Coach Dan Mings of the Johnson City Indians in just a little bit. Of course, they have that huge win last night over Chester, 20-2, so we're going to talk to Coach Mings about that. Right now, though, we want to talk a little volleyball this morning, Danny, as the Hamilton County Lady Foxes are having a successful season. They've had a couple of key wins here recently, and we got on the phone right now the head coach of the Lady Foxes, and that's Jason Hall. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning.
You bet. Thanks for joining us on the Sports Couch. You got to be happy with the way your Lady Foxes are playing in volleyball this year.
Yeah, I really am. We're starting out the season pretty solid. We're 9-3 right now and 3-1 in the conference, and just playing some solid volleyball. So very, very encouraging for the beginning of our season.
Well, Jason, I saw where you mentioned earlier in the week that one of your goals for your team is to always be in the hunt for that Black Diamond Conference Championship, and it looks like once again you've got the team that you should be able to compete and make some racket in that conference play.
Yeah, it's looking that way. I really wasn't sure at the beginning of the season how that was going to go. We've got Edwards County in the conference this year. They've taken place of Vienna, and they're one of the best volleyball programs in Southern Illinois. So you knew they were going to really shake up the conference quite a bit. Carmi won it last year, had a great team, and has a lot of their big players back this year. So we knew they were going to compete for it. Fairfield's always solid. Johnson City was a tough team last year. And, even though we had just won 14 games last year, I felt like we as a team were very competitive. We gave a lot of those teams three set matches, and I felt like we were competing for every game last year, even though our record didn't show that. So I knew that we had the potential, with me only losing one senior, Caitlin Barr. But you never know once conference play starts what's going to happen there. But yeah, we started off strong, got a good win over Carmi the other night. We let one slip away from us the other night at Fairfield in a tough game. Went 3 sets and just had some calls that didn't go our way at the end, and let that one get away from us. But I feel like that we're definitely in one of the top teams in that conference. And really, I think it could go any way. I think on any given night, about 4 or 5 teams that could knock each other off. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as the year goes on.
Well, talk a little bit about some of your team, Jason, for the folks that haven't had a chance to get out and see. Talk about some of your key players on this group.
Okay, well, we got 25 girls this year tried out, and so we got a great turnout. I got 10 freshmen, 5 sophomores, 4 juniors, and 6 seniors. And my varsity rotation's really made up of about eight girls. I've got most of my starters returning from last year. Like I said, I only lost 1 senior. So I've only got really 1 girl that's playing that didn't play some varsity last year. But the rotation mainly consists of my setter this year is Adrian Weimler. She's back from last year's senior. My libero this year is Emily Blades. That's a new position for Emily. She played all the way around for me the last couple of years, but I've moved her into libero spot, and she's playing amazing in that position. She got all-tournament team at North City, and that's unusual for a libero a lot of times to get all-tournament team. So she really turned some heads at that tournament. My middles, my senior Lily Morton, and then my other two seniors are one of my defensive specialists, what I call her, J.C. Riley. She plays back row for me. And then Sydney Williams, another senior who plays all the way around. Great defensive player and hits on our weak side. And then my juniors that are getting are mainly starting this year on varsity are Catherine Drone, who hits strong side for me, and Ramsey Clark, who hits strong side. And Ramsey's the one that didn't play a lot of varsity last year, but she's playing some varsity this year. And then my sophomore, Kaylee Dotson's my other middle. And we were really worried about our hitting this year. That's what we lacked last year. Caitlin kind of led us with kills. We really relied on her a lot to score points for us on hits. And so we really needed somebody to step up this year. It was going to be similar to last year. And my sophomore, Dotson, and my two juniors, Drone and Clark, are just really doing that. They're leading the team right now in kills and spreading them out really good. And then Morton and Williams are throwing some in there when we need them. And that's just really what I think has helped us to be successful, along with my defense, which I think we've always been known for our defense the last 5 or 6 years, just having solid defense and passing. But that's really my varsity rotation, and they're clicking pretty good. They're fun to watch if you haven't had a chance to get out and watch them.
Talk about some matches you got coming up this week. You got any big matches this week?
Yeah, coming up next week. Well, next week we go to ZR on Monday, and we go to El Dorado on Thursday. And so they're, a little smaller teams, don't really have the height and stuff. But then the next week, we go back in and play some pretty tough conference competition again. We go back to Carmi. We play Fairfield again at home, which is a big match. They're undefeated right now in the conference, and we want to get that one back. We kind of felt like we let that one get away from us last week.
What date is that, Jason?
That is next Thursday, I believe.
A week from Thursday?
6th. Yeah, October 6th. That'll be a home match against Fairfield, and that'll be a really big match. That kind of left a fire in my girls' belly, and we've had that happen a couple times. We felt like we let Thompsonville get away from us here at home, and then turned around the next week and beat them at North City, and then had a chance to win that North City tournament in the third set and let it get away from us against North City. And the first thing my girls asked me was, can we play them again? And so they get a little fire in their belly, and it gets them going. So I'm hoping that this loss to Fairfield will get them. And, Fairfield's always good. Chet does an amazing job. His girls are always ready to go and prepared. They're mentally tough. And so it was a good match, and I'm looking forward to playing them again here at home.
All right, Jason. Well, hey, we appreciate your time here this morning on the Sports Couch. We look forward to talking to you some more throughout this Black Diamond Conference season. Matter of fact, I think we've got October 6th circled on the calendar.
We just did, yep.
We've been wanting to get down there and do broadcast a home volleyball game, and Randy said this is the game, Fairfield and Hamilton County, because we got a lot of interest in both those locations. So we're going to plan on streaming that game live for the folks that can't get there to see that. So be an opportunity for your young ladies to get a little airtime.
Well, that's great. That'd be wonderful. They'll be glad to hear that, and I'm sure Fairfield will too.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jason. Thanks for joining us. Have yourself a great weekend, okay?
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. Jason Hall, head volleyball coach of the Hamilton County Foxes. Yeah, that's a big one on Thursday, October 6th, the rematch between the Lady Mules and Lady Foxes at McLeansboro.
Yep, should be a great game of volleyball there.
Yeah, we'll have to try to make sure that we are there for that one and bring that to you live online with the video streaming. Okay. Can you run through the football scores again, and we'll get Coach Mings on.
From the Black Diamond last night, Fairfield Mules put their stamp that they're the team to beat. They defeat Carmi 28-14. Johnson City Indians, who we're going to talk to, Dan Mings is going to say, hey, I've got a little to say about that. His Indians are 4-1 after they defeat Chester 20-2 last night. So Fairfield leads the pack 5-0. Carmi's 4-1. Johnson City's 4-1. El Dorado's looking to move to 4-1 today. They face Hamilton County in the homecoming game. El Dorado's 3-1. The Foxes 1-3 heading into today's contest. Cesar defeated Christopher 50-8, and kind of in a surprise game, Vienna falls to Hamilton County last week 14-7, and they turn around and they go to Edwards County and put 37 on the board last night at Edwards County and defeat the Lions 37-20. From the River to River, Anna Jonesboro gets their first loss of the season. They fall to Carterville 35-7. DuQuoin rolls along. They defeat Pinckneyville 42-6. Nashville 41, Sparta 8. Heron, they're kind of a team making some racket down there in that river to river. They defeat Murfreesboro 49-20 last night. Harrisburg rebounds from a loss to West Frankfort on Saturday. They defeat Massac County 61-6. And speaking of those West Frankfort Redbirds, Steve Dunford, they better not let me down today. I've picked them in the poll this week to defeat the Benton Rangers in that high noon shootout that is kind of a big Franklin County rival game that's been played for ever and ever and ever. So they're going to play that here at high noon today at Benton. So should be a great contest there. From junior high baseball scores, some Class M regionals this week. Albion moves on. They defeat Fairfield 6-2. In a big game in Washington County, it'll be Oakville versus Nashville today. Pinckneyville defeats Trico 8-6. NCOE advances with an 8-4 victory over Hardin County. Cesar 9, Christopher 7, Anna 13, Jonesboro 1. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Because at high school, it's Anna Jonesboro, but at the grade school level, it's still separated.
Yeah.
So Shiloh defeats Pontiac 12-2, and in Class S championships today, Goreville is going to take on Giant City, and that Goreville team, Randy, at every level. It does not matter. You talk baseball, softball, volleyball, they are always in it. They are in Class S regional championship today against Giant City. Big battle of Jefferson County. Ewing and the Waltonville Spartans are going to battle. Aveston's going to take on Selmaville, and Sisney is going to take on Iuka on Monday.
Yeah, and there were some big games yesterday. You gave some of those scores earlier. One of the bigger ones, I think, was Albion beating Fairfield 6-2. Those teams had played each other during the regular season. I think maybe they had split during the regular season, so it came down to the regional championship yesterday. They played it on a neutral field at Wayne City, I believe, and Albion won it to advance in Class M from the regional championship. So, yeah, a lot of local teams heading to state, and more will be after action today. But, well, they got beautiful weather today for these regional championships, don't they?
Back to football from the South 7. Belleville-Altoff puts their stamp on that South 7 with a 40-21 victory. That Centralia team had been rolling, Randy.
Yeah.
And Belleville just dominates.
Yeah, how good are they? And they went into Centralia and won that game at Centralia last night, dominated it 40-21. I would say Belleville-Altoff probably headed to another state championship game, it looks like, maybe.
Looks to me like they could be. You know, the Centralia Orphans are a real deal.
Yeah, that was their first loss of the season last night. Cahokia playing pretty well. They put 54 points on Carbondale last night, 54-20, so the Comanches are playing pretty good. Again, Marion beating Mount Vernon last night, 62-13. Kind of a tough season for Mount Vernon. They just don't have the size and the numbers this year.
You know, Randy, that 5A football, that's a whole different deal right there. And, you know, it is a little – it has to be disappointing for the people in Mount Vernon. A school that size, you would think that there would be a lot of athletes there, but the numbers are down, and they've got some key injuries, and it's going to be a long season for the Rams.
The Milk Bowl played last night in Breeze, the annual Milk Bowl between two crosstown high schools, Breeze Central and Breeze Modern Day. It was won last night by Breeze Central, 46-35. I'll tell you what, I bet they had a lot of people at that game last night.
You don't think there was some excitement there, do you?
That is really an annual thing there that they really get into. The Milk Bowl.
The Milk Bowl, does the winner have to drink the bowl of milk?
And it's bigger than a bowl. It's like a giant, well, it's more than a mug. It's like a, I don't know what you call it.
Like the Stanley Cup?
It kind of looks like the Stanley Cup, yeah. It's but it's full of milk, apparently, and I think they just, like, pour it on themselves or something. I don't know, but it's crazy.
I'll tell you a team that's going to be interesting to watch when playoff time rolls around in 3A is this Mount Carmel Aces team. They dominate Washington, Indiana last night, 42-0.
Yeah, we're going to have to get Kyle Peach on the phone sometime one of these weeks and talk about the Aces this year. We're trying to connect right now with Coach Dan Mings of Johnson City. I don't know if he's got his phone turned off or what, but we had a time set up with him this morning at 9:30, but For some reason, he's not answering. It's going to his voicemail, and we're hoping that he will call us back here in just a moment. We were going to wrap up the show a little early this morning for the simple fact that Bean Days parade is getting ready to start here at 10 o'clock in Wayne City, so it's pretty crowded here around the studios downtown.
Yeah, it looks to me like they're going to have a big crowd here at Bean Days today. They got a great day for activities. They got stuff going on all day. I know the Wayne City Saddle Club's going to have a big rodeo out there south of town tonight at 7 o'clock. And if you don't like rodeo, go right across the highway, and they're going to have go-kart racing starting at 7 o'clock also. So on the south edge of town tonight, there's going to be a lot of excitement out there from I don't know how many years this annual Bean Day is, but it's been forever.
Yeah, and they got beautiful weather. You couldn't ask for better weather for Bean Days than what it is today. And this is the first year, of course, Danny, to have Bean Days with the brand new school completed. So it's an opportunity for a lot of people to come and take a look at the school if they haven't yet. It's a beautiful new K through 12 facility. And I know there's a lot of people who come from out of town, former people who used to live in Wayne County and Wayne City that come back for Bean Days. And so many of those people coming back and having a chance to see what's new in the community, and that, of course, is the school and something to be proud of.
Oh, yeah, the school is always your focal point of your community, and they definitely have something to be proud about here now. And look for there to be a big crowd here at Bean Day today. If you aren't doing anything, come on down. You can get some refreshments and entertainment all day long. They're going to have good food. Come out and enjoy this great weather we're having today here in Southern Illinois. Also, there'll be a big game down there in Franklin County. West Frankfort's going to take on the Benton Redbirds. The West Frankfort Redbirds are going to take on the Benton Rangers today at Benton at high noon. They're calling it the high noon shootout. So if you want to see some good high school football, that should be a great game down there today.
All right. Well, again, we are trying to connect with Coach Dan Mings. Not sure what's happened with him. I'm guessing that probably something has just come up unexpectedly, and so he's not able to connect with us, because I know he would be very happy to talk about his ball club and the defensive effort that they had last night in shutting down Chester and winning that by a score of 20-2. I mean, the only way that Chester scored was with their defense last night.
Yeah.
So they shut the offense completely down.
And that was probably off of a bad snap or something that the ball got to the end zone. And anyway, his Johnson City Indians are 4-1 heading into next week. They're going to go to CZR, so you think Johnson City definitely will be a heavy favorite there. Fairfield's going to go to Vienna, and you definitely think Fairfield is the favorite. I liked this morning Coach Townsend said the guy from WSIL-TV kind of indicated he thought the Fairfield Mules were the underdog heading into last night's contest. And I want to ask him, what's he been looking at?
Right, yeah. Yeah, he must not have been following the Mules that closely, because I don't think they were an underdog last night, even though it was in Carmine.
I think the only thing you could have called it worst-case scenario last night would have been a toss-up.
Yeah, but the Mules definitely made a statement last night going down there and winning 28-14.
I think after this week, I think you'll see Fairfield at 5-0, Carmine 4-1, Johnson City 4-1, and El Dorado 4-1. So there's a lot to be determined yet in that Black Diamond Conference.
And Chester 3-2, and probably really smarting after that loss last night, and not sure who Chester's got next week. But
I wouldn't want to be their opponent.
They're going to take it out on somebody next week.
That's exactly right.
That's for sure. Well, Danny, I guess we'll get out of here and wrap things up because of Bean Days happening, because we want to get out there for the parade and other activities going on. And we thank all of you for listening and watching this morning. Again, we always have live video streaming of the Sports Couch on our sports website at AreaSports.net, where you can also get all the scores from area football games last night, as well as those junior high baseball regionals from around the area last night. We'll be back again next Saturday morning at 8:30 for a full 90 minutes of sports talk. It's local sports talk. It is the Sports Couch here on 90.9 and AreaSports.net. And one more thing before we go, Danny, you were giving me a hard time last week. Real hard time.
Okay, I'm going to get it now.
Yeah,
folks.
About my Michigan State Spartans football team. Now, they went out and totally dominated Notre Dame.
They finally beat a team that wasn't a cupcake.
They dominated Notre Dame last week at Notre Dame, and they win it, and now they're ranked 8th in the country. And this morning at 11 o'clock, they'll kick off in East Lansing, hosting number 11 Wisconsin. That's a big game.
If they win today, next Saturday, I will admit on here that they could be legit.
Can I go ahead and get you a Michigan State hat or a Michigan State shirt to wear?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I might admit they could be legit if they win today.
Okay. Well, you're giving me grief about them not playing anybody. Look at number 1 Alabama and who they're playing today. Number 1 Alabama is playing Kent State today. I mean, come on.
Yins are all alike.
Come on.
That's how yins pad your records.
I mean, Kent State?
That would be like the Fairfield Mules playing the Junior Football League.
There are some other good games today, though, in college football, besides the Michigan State-Wisconsin game, which is on the Big Ten Network at 11 o'clock. You've got Georgia against Ole Miss today. You got Michigan against Penn State in a Big Ten game. That's the Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan is a team that everybody's talking about.
They are talking about them, but they honestly haven't beat anybody yet. So we'll see, what happens. Florida against Tennessee today, LSU against Auburn, Stanford against UCLA. Those are some of the key football games today, but I think the big one is number 8 Michigan State and number 11 Wisconsin.
Fighting Illini have the week off, and they need it.
Yeah, they do. That was kind of an embarrassing loss last week against Western Michigan. I hated that happened to them.
Not a good deal.
No, but Lovie Smith, again, came in as the new head coach and was not able to do any of his own recruiting yet because he got into the job so late. So he is still just dealing with the cards that were already dealt to him. But, look for him to...
There'll be a new deck next year.
There will be. He will be changing things up. All right, we're going to get out of here. Again, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Saturday morning for another edition of the Sports Couch. Enjoy Bean Days today in Wayne City, and have a great weekend, everyone. So long.
This is your home for best Christian music.
WVYN, Bluefoot, Wayne City, Fairfield, Mount Vernon.
And now on Translator, W288